So Jordan Harris, take it away.
Yeah. Great. Well, first off, as I'm introducing myself, if you can click the link in that I just dropped in the Zoom chat and just fill that out real quick, just give me a sense of where everybody's at with webinars as we go. So my name is Jordan Harris. I work with CMO Zen, one of the co-founders, along with Chad and Mark, who are on this call. We provide fractional CMO services. My background is in marketing, all sorts of stuff. I've been a real generalist. Like if you had the T chart, it'd be really wide and deep in a couple areas, and webinars happens to be one of the areas I'm deep in. Background for the past 7 years has been in ed tech space, and we're working with about 10 to 12 companies right now and doing fractional CMO work for them, and it's been a blast. So real quick, just so you guys know, this is where we're at for this group here. So we got a lot to talk about. This is gonna be great. This is gonna be awesome. So
we
only
may
one
not
of us is
see what you're seeing, Jordan.
Oh, which screen are you seeing?
We were seeing a really pretty night sky.
How about this? It was a nice sky though. How about this? Is that better? Still the same thing?
Nope, that's perfect.
Okay, good. Cool. So that's where we're at for people here. So if you guys have questions about this, there's absolutely no way we'll get through everything that I could share with you about webinars today. So if you have some specific questions, try to make sure we have time for Q&A. But yeah, we'll get through this here really quick. So I'm gonna kick up my presentation here and go ahead and hit play. So first off, I'm going to go through a couple reasons why I think you should be having webinars as part of your company or as part of your business right now. And there's some really good reasons why, but I think one of the things that would be helpful to do first is to tell you my background of how I ended up at webinars. So let me hit play here and just make sure everybody can see this. You guys all see the PowerPoint here?
Yeah, looks great.
Perfect. Wonderful. So my background, it started with a podcast. I went to Chad, was my chief marketing officer. And I said, hey, we are having a really hard time in the teacher education space in higher ed of making any sort of impact because nobody knows who we are. And so we had this idea of saying, what if we started a podcast and we just called it the Teacher Education Podcast because it wasn't taken and it was an SEO friendly name that was really great. And we just started inviting highly influential people on the podcast with the idea that hopefully their egos would be stroked a little bit by being asked to be on a podcast. And so we did it. We started a podcast in 2019 and it worked incredibly. It was everybody that we had asked just about would come on, and all of a sudden we had the National Teacher of the Year, we had the president of CAPE, we had the president of AACTE, all these big organizations that we were trying to get into that were like, yeah, I'd love to come on and talk to it. And we started to go through event booklets that for different events in the space and look at the keynote presenters and then just be like, hey, I heard you were giving this presentation at this event. Would you like to come on the podcast and talk about it on the Teacher Education Podcast? And they all said yes, and it was really great. And then the pandemic hit and people really stopped listening to podcasts. And at the same time, we were asked to replace 33% of our lead flow volume that was previously coming from face-to-face events that had completely disappeared overnight. And so what we ended up doing was taking our exact same model that we had for the podcast and we overlaid it into webinars. And it worked really great. It worked really great to the point where it's like, okay, well, we need to be doing these more often. And we got to the point where we were running about 3 of them a month for different topics that were purely marketing webinars. So a couple caveats when you think webinars, when you talk about business webinars, there's going to be a few categories of them. There's kind of like that training, CS, customer success webinar. That's not really what we're going to talk about today. I'm talking more about the pre-sale type webinars of what we should be looking at. And so anyway, what we basically had was a podcast that had become a webinar and they were really great. And I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why I think they were really great and why you should use them in your marketing. So reason one I kind of touched on already is it's a great way to connect with influencers in your space. If you have a decent sized list or even any list and you can go to people and say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you, but I'd like you to just come and talk about X topic. And it's not necessarily all about sales. I'd like you to share your expertise with our audience that also overlaps with yours. It's a great way to connect with those influencers in space. You're always trying to find those inroads to say, how can I connect with somebody that matters? And webinars are a really good excuse to do that. And we'll go through these first couple of reasons fast, because we've got some more meat in the later on. The reason two, you should be running webinars, they're great at establishing credibility. I mentioned that we were kind of the new kids on the block when we started doing our podcast in the teacher education space. People hadn't heard of us. They didn't really know what we did. And we had some competitors that did what we did, but they did it way worse. But they've been around for 15 years. And so we needed some way to kind of jump the queue, or to like jump the mental queue of those competitors in terms of our credibility. And so this is a nice way to do that, especially when you're talking about topics that matter and are relevant to them as well. The really nice thing is that you get to borrow credibility as well from the guests that you get on. So if you're good at getting guests to join you that are in the space, you get to borrow from the credibility for your brand. Number 3 reason, this is really what you should come through this webinar and you should leave with, is all of the ways that content repurposing matters for webinars. So you run one webinar. Here are some ideas of how you can repurpose it. And we've done most, if not all of these at one point or another. So first one is obviously after your webinar, gate it and make it an on-demand webinar. So you have your webinar, you record your webinar, and then you're going to use it as a gated giveaway later down the road. So whatever your topic is, you're going to have that, do a little write-up about what the webinar is, put a simple name, first name, last name, email, gate in front of it. Boom, you've got yourself some gated content. You don't have to write anything new, don't have to come up with anything else that you have. One that we really love is this, you transcribe the webinar and then you're going to use it to make some SEO rich blog content. There's a company called rev.com. Couple bucks will get you a full transcript of your whole webinar. Once you have that, you now have the foundation for a blog post that just has amazing keywords, because you've been talking for 30 minutes about the topic that matters. And you can tweak it and adjust it if you need to as you go. Transcripts don't necessarily need to be 100% accurate, especially when people say dumb stuff on webinars, which some of us are wont to do. But you get that right there. One of the ones I really like is making 5-minute blog post recaps, where you actually take a 30-minute webinar and you trim the highlights of it. And then you put those in separate videos in a blog post that kind of hits on every point. So it's like point 1 of this webinar was this. And the idea is that you kind of get the all killer, no filler approach to a webinar, where you're not necessarily having to listen to the in-betweens. It's just like the highlights. And somebody can go through and read a blog post and listen to the pull out parts where you're saying, hey, this webinar breaks down into these 3 to 5 different highlights of it. Really great engaging content. Really great for blog posts, good for SEO, especially if you don't have anything yet and you don't have a great content writer on your team. Sometimes coming up with what to write and how to get there is a challenge for small marketing teams. This is a nice way to jump that gate and make it easier. Next thing is that you can take snippets from the webinar and repost them on social. These are really, really good candidates for TikTok and Instagram, which are going through the roof in terms of popularity. The nice thing about this is if you match your webinar topic to the right spot in the funnel, so if this is like a top of funnel or middle of funnel webinar, which we'll talk about in a second, then when you put it on TikTok and Instagram, the content's going to be match that same type of the funnel, which is where they are. What you don't want to do is you don't want to like post sales webinar content on TikTok. People don't care. They're not ready to buy. They're not on they're not on TikTok to convert to a sale for the most part. You're not consumer goods. You're not, a trinket or something like that they may impulse buy, but you can get in front of your audience there pretty well. And this gives you a really easy way to do that without having to come up with original content outside of what you've done in the webinar. You grab the most interesting parts, the most interesting quotes from your most interesting guests, and you've got social video snippets. Next one, farm the Q&A for future blog post contents. This one is huge. So when you do a Q&A at the end of your webinar, you're going to get a whole bunch of people who have said, around this topic we're talking about, these are the things that I'm curious about or that I would like to know more about. And you can use those to say, okay, now I know, what should my future webinar topics be? Or what should my future blog posts be? What should be the type of things that I'm spending time investing on? You can get those right from the Q&A in a webinar. Alternatively, we've done this in the past where we just send a post survey to everybody who comes to a webinar, and we just say, what topics would you be interested in learning more about? You get some really great content suggestions that way, and it saves you from trying to guess what content you think would be relevant for your audience. You can kind of skip that whole queue and actually just ask them, and they'll give you some really great answers. If you want to go the other way, if your webinar is formatted correctly, you kind of have a guest host interview interaction style, you may be able to repurpose it into a podcast. We have companies that do this. Really great. And it's super easy. Now you get just another channel. There's some things I don't like about podcasts from a marketing perspective, especially like when you just don't know the impact and you can't get people to convert them into actual forms. But there's some real value there of saying, I've already made the content, trimming a couple things here and there and uploading it to a podcast gives me a whole new audience. Maybe worth the squeeze. Take your slide deck, upload it to SlideShare for discoverability. The slide deck actually will grab the text out of your slide deck and it will index it for SEO. So it's a new way for you to just be discovered. If you do this, make sure you have a lot of links to your original site, places that they can get from SlideShare back to your site. But it's an easy way to repurpose content that you're already creating and already using for webinars. Oops, catch back up here. Conference, trade show, partner webinars. So if you have a great webinar that is just a hit, a home run, and you have this topic where it's like, hey, we had good audience response, we had good response from the people that matter. This is the type of thing, if you're trying to go and present at a conference or trade show, you can say, hey, could we present on this topic? We've done a webinar, we've had a great response for it. We'd love to come and present from our school about this topic. It's a good thing to do there. Pull quotes obviously matter for websites. Matter for social. You can grab tons of these little poll quotes from a single webinar and leverage them wherever you need in your marketing. And then the last one is the retargeting webinar viewers. So if you're running any sort of paid social, you get a chance to say, hey, I've moved these people all down the funnel. They've engaged with us. They're in our marketing funnel a little bit lower now. These are really good things to spend your money on rather than trying to guess from the entirety of Facebook who may be a lead. Use these as your retargeting for all your different social campaigns. Okay, so reason number 4 that I think webinars are great is you can create content that fits your funnel and creates conversion. So I mentioned that sometimes podcasts are a little bit frustrating because you may subscribe to my podcast for years and I may never know who you are, never get your email address. I have no idea to gauge how engaged you are with my content and what you're ready for. So when do I send you? When do I send you a bottom of funnel? No. When do I send you a bottle of Miles? Classic Miles. But when do I send you a bottom of the funnel email message where it's like, hey, I'm trying to push you for sales? This is a really good way to gauge where they're at. So first thing you have to do is you have to know your funnel. And I'm using some phrases that I want to make sure that hopefully I'm clear on. Tofu is what we'll call top of funnel. These are the people who are in your target audience, but don't really know much about your product. Middle of funnel, they may be product aware, like they have an idea that this is something that they may need, but they may not know or care about your company yet. And bottom of funnel are the people who are ready to have a sales conversation. They're ready to make a decision on this solution. So they're kind of winnowed down. They're ready for sales conversations. And your webinar should fit who you're targeting your audience for. If you don't have a funnel or you're not really sure, I would say aim for the middle of the funnel. And I'll give you a quick example of what that means if you're going to aim for the different funnel stages. So let's go here. Let's say you're running a webinar for Spatula City. Spatula City, they're coming up with all these different webinars and they want one targeted at top of funnel, one targeted at middle funnel, one targeted at the bottom of the funnel. If I were looking at the top of the funnel webinar, my topic may be something like the must-have kitchen accessories of 2022. So it's in the general space talking about it. It may be interesting to my target audience who really cares about kitchen utensils and kitchen accessories, but I'm not necessarily pushing Spatula City on them as what we're doing here. These are people who I'm kind of priming to move down the funnel. As they move down the funnel in MoFu, we'll say that the topic is going to be 10 ways a spatula will change the way you cook. So now we're talking specifically about spatulas, but we're not necessarily saying, hey, Spatula City's the right thing you need to do. We're trying to convince you that spatulas are something you need in your life. Like you need more spatulas if you're going to be cooking. And then the bottom of funnel content would be something along the lines of why Spatula City's spatula is a great long-term investment. Now, none of us are selling spatulas, but you got to get the idea of where you're going to be changing that topic. And like I said, if you're not sure where to go, aim for the middle of the funnel. Aim for something interesting that isn't necessarily your product specifically, because sales webinars are going to burn people if they're not ready for it, but is in the right space for you. So yeah, so you get a chance to kind of match your topic to the right stage in the funnel, and it's a good middle of funnel piece of content for you. Campaign-based based message testing is really great. So if you're new, if your company is relatively small, you're almost always testing messages to see what lands. And this gives you a campaign to work around for this. And what I mean by that is you're going to have pre-event emails that you're going to be sending out. You're going to have potentially social media posts that you're going to be posting about it. You're going to be potentially paid social that's going to be going on around the same time. You're going to have all these kind of campaign things where you're pushing this one topic and practicing different ways to say it, engaging response for it. Real quick, a story for us is we hit on a really good topic one time on it's like our 5th webinar specifically for nursing education. And all of a sudden we had 950 people register for the webinar. And we'd gone from like 250 to 950. And what we'd found is like that topic is actually just amazing for all of our content moving forward. Is like, okay, we hit on something here that we now know matters. And that drove our content strategy for a lot of other stuff. And so all of our other topics were great. 250 people coming to a webinar was great, but we really started to gauge what was resonating, what wasn't with our audience that we liked. And webinars are a great excuse to do that. So what do you need to get started here? First off, my biggest thing is if you've never done a webinar, keep it simple. Like, don't make this too hard on yourself. First thing you're going to need is a platform. And my suggestion is use what you have. You guys see what we're doing here on this Midday Connect with a simple Zoom room. You could do the same thing. You could do it without having any webinar platform, but just using Zoom. Couple cautions here. If you do this, by default, if you don't really know who's coming to your meeting very well, have them turn off video, because we have a couple horror stories from people we worked with where they allowed video on by default. Some people aren't responsible with that. So that would be my recommendation. If you do this and it's your first time, have video and audio off. Just don't let people do that. If you do need a platform and you want something that I would recommend, there's a software called Crowdcast. And it's not even a software, it's an online SaaS called Crowdcast. It's relatively inexpensive and it does a really great job. One of the things I love about Crowdcast is it has a green room feature where basically you and whoever's going to be doing your webinar as your guest can come in and join before the rest of the audience and talk and get comfortable, and then it goes live after. I think it makes a big difference. It makes people a little bit more comfortable as they go through it. So we can dive more into this topic at a later date, but just pick a platform and make it easy. A guest in a topic. This one's really great. If you are the subject matter expertise in your field, you can totally be the person who hosts your webinar. You don't have to go outside of your company to do it. Or if your CEO of your company is the person who's the subject matter expert, you don't have to do it. But I would recommend, even if you are the subject matter expert, get somebody to interview you. Interview formats almost always go better on webinars than just having somebody present like I am right now. Like, it would be better if somebody were asking me questions and kind of leading me through this, and somebody that could build up my credibility. So I'm not telling you how good I am at webinars. Like, that's generally the best format that you can have is kind of a two-person approach to webinars. One person to interview and ask the questions, and somebody else who's just sitting there answering it as the subject matter expertise for whatever topic you have. There we go. There's that bullet point. You'll need a registration page, but if you have a CRM, you can use anything that you already have for this. If you don't have a CRM, you could just use a Google form and start to gather them in a spreadsheet and figure it out. Like, don't let the logistics of a webinar be the reason that you don't run one. Make it as simple as you possibly can to get it out the door. You'll need some emails, but these are good things anyway. These are things you'll need. Typically, the 3 required emails that I have are the invite, the day of email, and the follow-up email. So invite email, obviously you're inviting people to the email. Day of is say, hey, our webinar is going to be today. Here's the link. Look forward to seeing you there. And then the follow-up email is after the webinar to either everybody who registered, saying, hey, here's the link to the recording. Here's the link to the slides. And if you'd like to have a conversation about this, here we are. And then a content plan after. So of all that stuff that we said that it was there for you, of those content ideas of how to repurpose it, have a plan for how to make sure that your investment isn't just for a one-off webinar where you may or may not get people to attend. Getting people to attend a webinar is kind of a tricky thing. If you, a lot of people here are in the education space, finding this time during the day where teachers are not in class and will actually come to a webinar can be really hard. And so a lot of times you're going to be at 25 to 30% of your registrations that actually come live. Which means good follow-up, great. A lot of people will register for webinars. If you let them know you're going to send the content after, a lot of people will consume it after, but having that content for the plan after, make sure you don't just rely on the webinar itself as your entire content strategy. Okay, last thing I have, and if you have any questions, please ask them now because I'd love to answer them. But I'm going to give you a few tips on how to make sure your webinars don't suck. First thing I think is pre-draft the key takeaways and focus your content around them. And I would add to this also, have a giveaway for something that reinforces this. So after this webinar, I'm going to send to Taylor a list of those content repurposing strategies, like a little checkbox. I'll send that to all of you guys that you guys can have here, because I think that's one of the key takeaways is how to take a webinar and turn it into a lot of different things. So that's one of the things that I'd create content around and say, use this after. One of the things I really think is a great thing to do, and Midday Connect's not a great example because they already have a great engagement strategy as we go into breakout rooms. It's a great way to get people talking, but have an early engagement strategy for your webinar. A couple things that we've done in the past is we've hosted trivia and we'll just give away $10 Starbucks gift cards to the winners. We get their emails, put up a trivia slide, get them to type in chat. The first one who answers it right, we're going to send them a $10 gift card. Ask them for introductions, tell us where they're joining from. Mentimeter is the tool that I use that popped up that poll for you. They have a lot of different engagement stuff that you can do with that, but find some way to engage your audience early on because it will drive interaction later in your webinar. The ones that engage early on, they will then chat and they'll interact and they will make your webinar more engaging for you. They'll do a lot of that work. Keep it short. Don't ever go over an hour. Every marketing webinar I've ever been on over an hour has made me mad. And in general, you'll see that drop off go super hard at the hour anyway. People will block out an hour of time. Don't go over that. 20 to 30 minutes is generally the sweet spot, especially if you tack on Q&A on top of that. So you can get up to about 45 minutes total for everything. Just make sure you don't go too long. If you have that much to say, make it 2 webinars. Make it the next month webinar or whatever it is. And then the last thing I have is or I guess second last thing, but don't bait and switch. Don't market your webinar to your middle of funnel with a middle of funnel topic and then spend the whole time pitching your product. If you do that, you'll burn everybody who's there. They've set aside an hour of their day to be to learn something, to educate themselves, to grow in that space that you have. Give them that. And it's okay to have a sales pitch as part of your presentation. It's okay to have it in the follow-up emails or even reference it in the webinar. Say, hey, this is brought to you by this company. This is what we do. We appreciate you guys being here today. But be upfront. If you're going to have a sales webinar, call it a sales webinar. If you're not, then don't be a sales webinar because you will burn your audience and it will hurt your trust. And then the last thing I'd say is replicate webinars you love. If you ever joined a webinar and you thought, hey, that was excellent, figure out what it was that you loved about that webinar and replicate it in your own webinars as you have it. So everything that I talked about, there's a super deep dive, but I'm just about a time of the presentation before the Q&A. So I'm going to wrap it up there and then let you guys ask what questions you have that you'd like me to dive in deeper on. I'll leave this up here as we talk, but feel free to email me at any point, jordan@cmozen.com. I'd love to chat with you guys about it. Happy to answer any questions you have. Connect with me on LinkedIn, whatever you want. More than happy to share the experience that we've had from running over 150 of these webinars.
Thanks, Jordan. That was awesome. Really appreciate it. Lots of good stuff there. Feel free to just unmute yourself and ask Jordan questions. You can throw them in the chat if you want to as well. And yeah, let's see. I don't think I have to unmute you. I think you can. Jordan, one question I had as you were going through that, you mentioned 3 critical emails. What's the next tier down of non-critical emails and what does that look like?
Yeah, so if we go here to where you're talking about the invite day of and follow-up emails, all of those can be expanded and dripped on. So if you have like a month heads up that you're going for your webinar, having a drip campaign leading up to it's really great for your invites. And then segmenting your list of like, hey, here's the people who've engaged, here's the people who haven't engaged, and now I'm going to invite you a couple different times. That's great. If you already have a content nurturing platform going, like if you're running a newsletter or you're running a nurturing campaign for your audience, injecting that webinar invite into those, really great. That's a great thing to do. The follow-up email, one of the things that we did is we had a follow-up email that came from like our marketing team that was like, thanks for joining the webinar. And then what we had is 5 days later, we would kick off a sales sequence with our SDR team where they would follow up and say, hey, I noticed that you got a chance to join this or you didn't get a chance to join this. I want to make sure you had the link and I want to see if you had some time to talk about X product. So we had a full SDR sales sequence outreach that was kind of based around the webinar as well. And then the day of as well, the leading up to the day of, if you want to do a week out, if you promote your webinar for a week, or sorry, for a month, and you want to do a, hey, reminder, this webinar is in 3 days, and then a day of email, you can kind of just expand all of those things to be a little bit more effective. There's a lot that you can do in there too, like the and I'm going to add one. I'm sorry, I can't believe I spaced this. There's one more. That should be on that list. It's the confirmation email. So when they register, just shooting them back an email and saying, hey, you're good, you're registered, and include in that calendar links. That's the best way to ensure people show up, is if they have it on their calendar. The best way to ensure they don't show up is for you to hope that they remember that they have it. So always include iCal, Outlook, and GCal invites in your email follow-up with the event and the link in the event. Great way to drive up attendance of your actual webinar.
This is awesome. I've got a question. So Jordan, it sounds like the webinars were kind of an outgrowth of what started as the teacher education podcast. And with the podcast, you had kind of the advantage, I'm assuming, of inviting guests, because you weren't a company, you were a podcast about teacher education. My question is, as you moved over to the webinar, were you inviting guests to be panelists or to join from kind of a company commercial perspective, or were you still writing kind of this teacher education angle?
So we definitely went to the company angle, and actually, as our podcast evolved, we realized that the separation from Go React to the teacher education podcast didn't matter as much. And in fact, it was better if we were more upfront that, hey, this is Go React and this is our teacher education podcast. So we kind of already started to be really clear that this was put on by Go React, but it felt like the things I think that were really positive is that anybody who did a podcast before for us knew we weren't trying to get them to necessarily just pitch our product for us. So we kind of built up trust with that. People would listen to it. Usually when we invite somebody to join, we also say, hey, we'd like you to be a part of this. If you'd like some examples of what we've done in the past, here are a couple key ones that we've done before. So we send like an episode or two. And we do the same thing with webinars. When we'd invite somebody to be a webinar, we'd say, hey, here's an example of what the webinar would look like, where we'd share it with somebody else who wasn't there. So we actually didn't find that we hit a lot of friction for those people, and maybe it was that we were in an underserved space, but in general, everybody that we asked and we kind of told them the story, hey, we can get you in front of a whole bunch of people that are in the audience that you also care about, that we care about, they were pretty on board with it.
No, that's awesome. That's very helpful. I'm also curious, at what cadence roughly would you do those webinars?
So we started doing them every month. And if I'm being honest, I think we probably burned out about a year and a half in to where it was like, hey, this is too much. So we started to scale back to about once every other month, especially as it gets a little bit harder to do to schedule guests and stuff like that. And one of the things I found that as we did the cadence every single month is like when I showed you the content promotion plan of like, hey, here's all the other stuff that you could do for content repurposing. As we were doing them once a month, every month, we started to find that we weren't doing as many of these things. It just became like our time was so dedicated to executing the webinar that we weren't really squeezing it for everything it was worth. So slowing down that cadence allows for more of this leverage of the podcast or of the webinar. I think you get more juice for your squeeze rather than trying to constantly run from execution of this webinar and then it's over and it's like, okay, we've essentially got 3 weeks until we got to be ready to go for the next one. So if I were saying a perfect cadence, I'd say once every other month would be an ideal cadence. Now, we were a little bit tricky in that we had multiple targets that we were trying to hit in terms of teacher education, nursing education, that there was very little crossover. And so we were doing 6 total webinars a month, or 3 total webinars a month, 3 total webinars a month every month. And it was too much. So I would say if you're going to start out slow and see how much you can get out of that one webinar before you decide you can run the next one.
Perfect. No, that's helpful. Thanks.
Jordan, I had a question, and this is really helpful. Thanks. I'm just wondering if I were to do something like this and maybe pull on an expert to help do the webinar, how do you transition from like the content of the webinar of like, this is what people came for to learn about blank, to kind of that sales pitch? Like, for example, when you send out a newsletter, you can have a little blurb at the bottom that says, if you're interested in more, contact whatever, our company to learn. How do you transition that in a webinar setting?
So we've done it two ways. We've done it either at the beginning or at the end. And this is part of the reason why having somebody host for you is really great, because you don't want your subject matter expert to feel like they're part of it. The key is just accepting that when you're doing this webinar for marketing, you're not necessarily going to get a bunch of bottom of funnel sales directly out of the webinar. But having somebody where it's like a transition, one of the ones we typically did is like, hey, and this, thank you guys for joining us for this webinar. It was brought to you by EduFresh. It's the company that I work for. EduFresh is doing this. If you'd like to learn more, check your email after. We'll send you some information of how to learn more about EduFresh, and kind of leave it at that. If you go too heavy into the sales pitch, people will feel like they've been like the bait and switch. So I typically like to just give a nod to, this is who's hosting it, this is who's doing it, and if you'd like more information, we'll send it to you. Because in your follow-up, you're not gonna let them go by without knowing A, who did it, and B, what you do. So the magic is really gonna be the follow-up, but you just want to move them down that kind of marketing funnel in this. You don't necessarily want to say, I need to go from top of funnel with this webinar to sales demos by the end of it. You got to move them down and be okay with the fact that it's not going to do the whole job for you.
Cool. Thank you.
Jordan, this has been awesome.
It's really great.
To your point, not going to go over an hour.
Let's do it.
Yeah. If anybody wants to follow up, I think you probably saw Jordan's email, but also probably connect with him on LinkedIn and otherwise, but email is probably a great way to connect.